Hello, fellow working class comrades, and welcome to another edition of Ralphie the Revolutionary. I'm your host, Ralphie the Revolutionary, and today I want to talk about professional sports. Because a lot of neoliberal bootlickers love to bring up professional sports as an example of how people in a free market can go from growing up in poverty to making millions of dollars. And does anybody really need to make millions of dollars? And yeah, sure, professional sports has served as a vehicle for many to go from poverty to privilege. And putting aside the fact that it's actually incredibly rare to succeed in professional sports, when you really think about it, professional athletes are actually slaves. Yeah. Even Colin Kaepernick, who I think is a real hero of the working class, even Colin Kaepernick has compared the modern National Football League to 19th century American slavery. And that's not good. That's not good. And if you recall my last video where I talk about how the Daily Wire tried to pay Steven Crowder $50 million in slave wages, I mentioned that brilliant thinkers like Richard Wolff and Noam Chomsky and Kyle Kulinski over at Secular Talk have compared the worker-employer relationship under capitalism to slavery. But if you have not watched that edition yet, or if you're new to my YouTube channel, here's a refresher.
Happen in the market. There's lots of ways it can happen, but it has to happen. And Marx was very interested in understanding how the labor gets organized in a society. So the labor theory of value was to say, let's look at commodities, things that are produced that we all need, by focusing on the labor in them, because that will tell us something about a society. So let me conclude by focusing in on what Marx thought labor would teach us. And here's the answer. In a society, the labor that gets done to produce everything has an interesting quality. The labor that's done produces more than is given to the people, the laborers, who are doing the work. In other words, laborers always produce a surplus of goods and services beyond what they get. And the interesting question is, who gets that surplus? In slavery, the workers are slaves and the master gets it. In feudalism, the workers are serfs and the lord gets it. And in capitalism, the workers are employees and the employer gets it. The labor theory of value looks at labor because it sees in this arrangement who produces the surplus and who gets it a key to what's wrong with...
Yeah, so as we can obviously see, slavery is no different than the current worker-employer relationship that we see under capitalism. And this sort of behavior has been depicted in neoliberal propaganda movies and television programs like Moneyball and Winning Time and Air. Right here is a clip from the movie Moneyball, where Billy Beane takes on a new strategy of trying to find the cheapest players possible.
I know Boston wants to cut him and no one wants to pick him up.
That's good for us. He's cheap.
Yeah, Billy Beane. That's what really motivates him, is trying to find the cheapest players possible. Billy Beane, more like Billy Bean Counter. But in all seriousness, the owners of the Oakland Athletics in this movie bought the team in 1995 for $85 million. And what they don't tell you in Moneyball is just a few years after the events of Moneyball, these same owners sold the Oakland Athletics for $180 million, meaning that the owners made $95 million in profit. And this does not mention all of the money that the Oakland Athletics made off of stuff like ticket sales and revenue sharing, which at the time was reported to be anywhere between $10 and $12 million each season. And that's over $100 million that never trickled down to the people that really created the value, the workers. And in the latest season of the television program Winning Time, Los Angeles Lakers owner Jerry Buss suggests paying his players more money. And it's not because Jerry Buss was generous to his workers, but rather he wanted to lock them into long-term contracts before the more favorable free agent rules kick in. Meanwhile, Jerry Buss bought the Los Angeles Lakers in 1979 for roughly $68 million, which would be roughly $300 million in today's money. Well, today, the Los Angeles Lakers are estimated to be worth more than $6 billion. In other words, if the Buss family sold the Los Angeles Lakers today, they would get $6 billion, while all of the Lakers players over the last few decades would get $0. And that's not good. That's not good. Just look at Lakers Hall of Famer Shaquille O'Neal, who, from what I can tell, is struggling, having to work multiple jobs. Shaq currently does basketball analysis over at TNT and also has to do commercials for greedy corporations like Carnival Cruise, which Shaq probably wouldn't have to do if the Lakers paid him his fair share. This is just more of the ownership class paying their workers as little money as possible so that they can make them do more work. And then there's this new movie, Air, which came out earlier this year, which stars Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. It's a drama movie about how Nike signed their historic deal with Michael Jordan to do a shoe endorsement. And what's really disgusting about this Air movies, they make it sound like a happy story because Michael Jordan ended up making over $1 billion from his endorsement deal with Nike. And does anybody really need $1 billion? But when you consider that the $1 billion is just a tiny portion of Nike's overall profits, So what actually happened is that Nike shareholders and executives stole billions of dollars in labor value from Michael Jordan. And they called this movie Air when it should really be called Not Fair. Not that I feel sorry for Michael Jordan, considering that he himself eventually became an NBA owner, stealing billions of dollars in labor value from his workers. And that's not good. That's not good. Remember that brilliant thinkers like Richard Wolff and Noam Chomsky say that the worker-employer relationship is essentially slavery. And instead of saying that slavery is wrong and that we need to abolish slavery by prohibiting private property and exploitative profiteering, neoliberal bootlickers would rather promote this system of slavery by saying that it's good that slaves are capable of becoming slave masters themselves.